So tell me more about the cost of living, because I think when people think about moving to the Caribbean, typically they think of an island and they
Mhm.
forget that Belize is actually part of the Caribbean. As you say,
Technically,
it's
yeah.
blessed by the Caribbean Sea, the
Uh-huh.
temperatures. But how affordable is Belize for you as someone who's lived internationally? And when you're putting that
Mhm.
list together,
Right.
is there actually a difference? Have you noticed it to be much more affordable?
Oh God, yeah, way, way more affordable. Honestly, I think, well, let's start with the currency. For example, the Belize dollar is pegged to the US dollar. So it's 2 to 1. One
Okay.
USD is two Belizean dollars. So if, say, for example, especially if you have an income from abroad as an expat, like we, all of us, have, your money goes further for you. That's the first step. The second thing is, despite all this inflation and prices worldwide just going up, we have noticed the differences in prices going up. But having said that, apart from us expats aside that have, I guess, a higher income, the local community, although things are generally a bit tighter, aren't suffering to the extent where they could have, and the way people are in other parts of the world, just primarily because the cost of living is a lot lower.
So how
And
much would
people
you
can get
spend on
by.
your weekly shop? I guess it's difficult for
So
you because
our
you grow so
weekly
much of
shop
your
is,
own food, don't you? So it's going to be a difficult
well,
answer,
I,
but
I can
yeah,
split it up into two ways, because at the
yeah.
moment we're completely off grid. So we don't have any electric bills. We have our well. So we have our pump in our well. So, we get our water that way. So there's no water bills. The only bill that we pay monthly is our internet,
Okay.
which is $25 a month. And we're way out in the bush. We've got these massive satellite things that
Oh
just
wow.
stick it out into the air. But whatever, it does the job. We're connected. So yeah, that's the only bill that we have. But that aside, just to give you an idea, that's roughly how much you pay for internet a month, give or take.
Okay.
Between $20 to $25. I mean, we're on the higher end because of all the different things that we do online.
Right. And food shopping, a basket of or a family food shop,
A
roughly how much?
family food shop, now we usually split it into two. You got the farmers market where you get your fresh produce or your vegetables, your fruits, and blah blah blah. That would, for an average family of four like us. Now the kids aren't tiny anymore, so they're eating a little bit more, which bulks things up, especially the fruit, because they're always walking around eating things. We'd spend anything between $30-40 ish. This is Belize dollars. That's
Wow.
when we're getting like bags and bags full, and that we don't always get through on the week, but I'm just saying on
Wow.
the high end. And then there's the supermarkets. The supermarkets with the imported goods now are a little bit higher, but having said that, in the month we would spend about $300, $350, depending on what we're buying in bulk, because sometimes we'd buy like a bit more rice, or we do flour, even though right now we're cutting down on the flour because wheat's gone up. But the other side to it is we've got tons of plantain, and I'm experimenting with plantain flour and cassava flour. So it's just trying to kind of get our heads around how they work in recipes that I use. So work in progress, but that substitute wise, that's kind of what we're
Yeah.
playing with.
And is that 300 US or Belizean dollars?
Yes, not US.
Wow, that's insane.
Hey, don't be silly. So yeah, and again, we're not extravagant. Like, we don't drink alcohol, so things like alcohol, if you are a regular consumer, your bills will be significantly higher. Let's see, we buy our standard Hellman's mayonnaise and just normal stuff. Like, yeah, that's,
And
yeah.
what about and so I'm trying to think of something else that people might need, but
Yeah,
say buying kids clothes. Do you do your clothes shopping in Belize, or do you have to wait until you're back in the UK to do that?
actually I cheat and I buy it from the UK. I have yearly we get like one box coming, like from my mom and my brother. They send us clothing. Now the reason for the clothing is that there is a reasonable amount of clothes here, but most locals will go across to Mexico and buy their clothes.
Right.
The imported goods aren't that great in terms of clothing. The Chinese imports are unfortunately very poor quality, but there's a huge market for secondhand clothing here, which a lot of the locals get. People now in the, your US and your Europes would, send clothes to Goodwill. They land by the container load. People buy them and sell them on in the market here. But anyway, clothes wise, definitely one thing I think we all cheat on. Getting back from the UK, now I stocked up on clothes for the kids and books. But I think, yeah, that's probably one of the few things that is a bit of a luxury in some way, I guess, that you don't really get it regularly here.
Yeah. And what about transportation? So renting a car or buying a car, how affordable is that?
So renting cars is actually quite expensive. You would be better off purchasing a car. In the long run, that will be better for you, because apart from people that genuinely live here, like us, who just get on with their lives, it's more of a tourist-centered country. Okay. So a lot of, so people that rent cars short-term are more catered to. Therefore, the rental market is really high. And same goes for real estate for the most part, to be honest. Unless you have somebody on the ground, a local or someone like us, or someone that's able to actually negotiate on the ground with the owner, the real estate agents will charge you through the roof. Why, I don't know, but that's just how it goes. So when it comes to rentals, you do really need to, that's why it's crucial to do those, I guess, exploratory trips to give yourself that 3 to 6 months or whatever it is that you can afford, and how your timeline, is. That makes a massive difference.
In terms of finding somewhere to live, can you just find somewhere on Airbnb and hope that they'll give you a discount? Like what do you typically advise people who want to move to Belize and not get ripped off? Let's put it as bluntly as that.
You can go on Airbnb, and there's quite a few places listed. We did that a fair amount in the beginning. Booking.com has quite a bit as well. Even if you just Google, like, for example, Corozal rentals, all kinds of things will pop up. And they would generally be higher prices than you would pay normally. I always tell people to book into Airbnb for a couple of nights. Like, just don't do like a full-on affair. Just give yourself about a week or so. That will give you the chance to dump your bags, walk the town or village, whatever is the place that you decided you want to stay a little bit longer. Walk, talk to the people that are the hotel owners, speak to the receptionists, speak to the cleaner, go out to a local restaurant, have a walk, go to the park. People are always chilling. Like, you'll find somebody, and just ask around. You go into your local shops and just converse with people and let them know. Like, for example, our last the only rental that we've had here, because we ended up, our own landlord is a really good friend of ours. We found him through a restaurant that we were eating at. Wow. And we were talking to the lady, and this is when we first arrived in our 6 months trial trip, and talking to her, and we're like, we're staying at this hotel, blah, 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 in front of the water, and we're looking for a long-term rental. And she was like, my cousin had something up for rent. I don't know, you can check it. I'll have a word with him. Calls him, comes back. I think the place is free. Do you want to go see it tomorrow? Yeah, of course. And we walk around, and he showed us the place. Bam, ended up staying there for like 3 years, I think.
Oh, wow.
Like, because the first 6 months we stayed there, and then we went back home to the UK. We were in the UK for about 4 or 5 months. We still paid the rent because our stuff was in there. The rent was dirt cheap, so we could afford to be away for the sake of our stuff being safe. Came back while we were literally built these 4 walls in that rental. And yeah, you just become good friends with people after that, and he helped us move, and yeah.
And so can I be really cheeky and ask, how much were you paying? How much was your rent?
We were paying $300
US.
Belize. 100
Belize.
nope, 150 US.
That's insane. Oh my goodness. And how many rooms was it?
It was just a one bedroom, so it wasn't
Okay.
grand, but it had a massive outdoor space, huge garden for the kids. We had a storage space, so a garage space where my husband practically put all of these walls together. So the main reason why we got that house, even though it was just a one bedroom, and it wasn't huge inside, is because we're outside people anyway. So
Right.
we only ever inside the house when we're eating or when we're sleeping.
I'm lost for words that it's 150 US for somewhere to
Yeah.
say. That's like,
But you
oh,
see why we could be away for like 5-6 months and like you didn't
yeah.
back up.
Oh
you
my
know,
goodness. And so would you say the area that you're in is like one of the most affordable areas in Belize, or could you
yes.
find similar amounts in other parts of the country?
You could find something close to, but I think from what we found, it's definitely by far the cheapest part of the country.
Okay.
Cheapest part of the country.
And where,
Again, I think it's because it's not, you don't have a high density of tourists. It's a local community, and it's the areas that have a higher density of tourists or tourist attractions that people tend to charge more. Everything like, for example, Placencia is one of the more popular areas in Belize, and living expense wise is day and night compared to here. And we drive down. I mean, I to me personally, it's nothing groundbreaking in Placencia. Like, it's a peninsula. Okay, great, but that's all you got for me. I'm a little bit picky. So, but then people would charge more there because the tourists will flock there, and when expats generally buying areas, they want to be, on this island vibe. So they would fork out a couple of $100,000 for a property, which I don't see the point. Why, if I don't have to spend X, why would I?
right, yeah. And so let's talk about the even more exciting part, which is buying land.
Yes.
In the area, how many acres did you purchase?
So we bought 6 acres.
6 acres. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I don't even want to ask, but I'm going to ask. How much did you pay for 6 acres of land in Belize?
12,000.
Oh my goodness. Wow.
That would see it's a rare one. It's a rare one. I'm going to say honestly, the what we paid isn't the most common. I'm going to throw it out there. Like
12,000 US or Belize?
Yeah, US.
US. Okay, that makes it marginally better, but still not that much. Okay.
I mean, to be fair, it's not, like I said, it's not the most common. It took us, I think we were searching for a good year and some change, to be honest, like almost 2 years, to find the right place.
Yeah.
So it is hard to find good deals like this, but they are still possible. And the only way, I guess, that you can find a deal like this is to go directly to the owners. If you're buying directly from the owner, you are bypassing so much commission.
Right.
Because the real estate agents just people that live here will tell you they would never purchase through a real estate agent. Like, and the ones that made the mistake of doing so before they moved here, they're like, never again. Because the prices are 10x for the most part. Like, it's not something that the locals wouldn't necessarily put a price tag like that originally. And the real estate agents are like, well, you can get so much for it. And they get 10% commission on the sale. So the higher the price, the better for them. So yeah, we did our 6 months, we came back, we searched and we searched and we searched, and eventually we found this place.
Amazing. And so I have a family member who purchased land in Belize, and it didn't go very well. There was an issue with regards to the titling. She then hired a lawyer to get it justified or corrected.
Oh, it can be
the lawyer
messy.
took the money, and that wasn't correct. And then she ended up just losing it, or just giving up. So have you heard of stories like that? And how did you navigate making sure that you did things correctly and had the best advice possible?
I guess this is one thing that I have to say for the blessing of incorporating into the local community. One of our friends' daughter works at the Ministry of Lands.
Perfect.
So before we even purchased anything, there was a lot of questions from our part, clarifying what we should look out for, what kind of things should we expect before any money exchanges hands. What sort of thing do we ask for? What can we check on a legal perspective? So there was tons of questions from our side. So we did that part. And then it was a matter of familiarizing ourselves with the requirements of, calling up the lands office, going, what do we need, X, Y, just sort of, just being super tight with the requirements from a legal perspective from the offices that process these paperwork, so that we could avoid things like, unfortunately, what's happened to poor girl. Like, she's not a unique case. Unfortunately, that's happened to quite a few people here, where somebody is selling this piece of land and it's either an inheritance piece where it belongs to multiple people in the family, and one person sells it, and somebody has a title, and next thing you know, another relative has sold it, right, and somebody else has a title, and it gets messy. And the real estate agents aren't bound by by law to disclose certain liens or whatever on land. If somebody comes up to him and says, I want to sell this piece of land, they're like, all right, cool, post it online, off you go. So it requires for you to do quite a bit of the legwork. And this is partially, like I was saying, with the relocation services that we started doing, and I guess has built up on itself. One of the things that we do is consultations on, about purchasing land, because we're able to have gone through that process, able to support somebody through the purchasing process from the beginning to end, so that at least things are clean and clear, titles in their hands, and they can just move on with their lives. Because unfortunately, if you don't know what you're doing, things can get complicated and messy.